The evening began with soft jazz, dim lighting, and polite, hollow smiles. We were at her best friend Madison's place, a sleek, glass mansion with string lights draped over the backyard, the kind of house where wealthy people pretend they care. Alyssa, my wife, entered, her hand loosely resting on my arm as if I were part of the decor rather than her husband. She looked breathtaking. Silver dress, glossy lips, hair cascading perfectly over her shoulders. But the warmth I once saw in her eyes wasn't meant for me anymore. It belonged to someone else. That someone else was Ethan. Tall, charming, the sort of man who can get away with anything just by flashing a grin. He worked with her, and she always insisted he was just a friend. But tonight, she made no effort to hide it. The moment she spotted him near the bar, she let go of my arm and walked straight to him. I stayed back, quietly observing as guests exchanged polite greetings. Most pretended not to notice the scene unfolding, but they all did. Alyssa leaned into Ethan while they talked, her laughter carrying too loudly across the room, too practiced. She touched his arm when she spoke. He whispered something, and she flipped her hair, smiling like a lovesick teenager. Someone beside me muttered, "Are they together?" I didn't respond. I just took a measured sip of my drink and murmured, "Not for long." No anger, no jealousy, because I already knew something they didn't. Madison approached me, guilt etched on her face. I tried to calm her, but she wouldn't listen. I nodded and said, "It's okay. Tonight isn't her night. It's mine." She looked puzzled, but I offered no explanation, just a steady smile. The same smile Alyssa had once said unnerved her. It meant I was no longer hurt. I was finished. Dinner was served. Everyone gathered around the long wooden table adorned with candles and wine glasses. I sat across from Alyssa and Ethan. She didn't even bother sitting beside me. Raising her glass, she laughed loudly, to good company and better men. Some guests chuckled awkwardly. Ethan smirked. I didn't flinch. I simply placed my napkin on the table, leaned back, and let them bask in their moment because it was about to be their last. When dessert arrived, I stood. "I'd like to make a toast," I said. Silence fell over the room. Alyssa rolled her eyes, expecting an emotional speech or apology. Instead, I calmly set a small stack of white envelopes on the table, one for her, one for Ethan, and one for Madison. Inside, I explained, are copies of messages, hotel receipts, and photos from the past 3 months. Gasps filled the air. Ethan turned pale. Alyssa froze, her smile fading in slow motion. "What is this?" she whispered. I met her gaze gently. "Proof. Proof that while you thought I was blind, I was simply waiting." She stood, trembling. "You could have just talked to me." I raised an eyebrow. "You talked to him in my house, in my bed, while telling me I was imagining things." The room went completely silent. No music, no laughter, only her heavy breaths. Then I smiled. "Don't worry. I'm not here to fight. I'm here to say thank you, because tonight, this ends." I turned to Madison. "Thank you for being honest when nobody else was." Then I looked at Alyssa. "Divorce papers are in your envelope, signed by me. Yours needs just one more signature. Ethan, that envelope contains a letter to HR. I suppose he forgot that the company has strict policies about married employees involved with co-workers, especially when the husband owns part of the firm." The room shifted. Ethan stood, panic in his eyes. "You can't do this." I cut him off, calm as ever. "I already did." Alyssa's breaths quickened. She reached for my arm. "Please, we can talk about this." I gently stepped back. "No, Alyssa. You made your choice at this party. I'm making mine now." Tears streamed down her face, makeup smudging, hands shaking. "I didn't mean to hurt you," she whispered. I nodded softly. "I know. But you did." And I finally realized love isn't about begging someone to choose you, it's choosing yourself when they won't. Guests stared, some in shock, some quietly admiring. Silence hung heavy. I grabbed my coat, nodded to Madison in gratitude, and walked toward the door. As I reached the exit, her voice broke, calling out, "Please don't go." I paused, turned slightly, and said, "You flirted with him in front of everyone tonight. But tomorrow, Everyone will remember who walked away with dignity. Then I left, no shouting, no drama, just silence and the sound of my footsteps on marble. Behind me, she stood frozen, no laughter, no flirting, only shock, regret, and the harsh realization that the game she thought she was winning was already over.